Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. Following the truth wherever it leads. Exposing evil and corruption and the secret machinations of powerful elites. Revealing the high strangeness beneath the surface of our supposed reality. Coming to you from the Great White North and his studio beneath the stairs. Here's Richard.
And we are live. I guess we'll call this my first post-conspiracy show live stream. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is kind of a test to make sure all of the equipment is working properly, all the bells and whistles are operating according to plan. And I must give great credit to my son, North, one of my twin boys, who put all of these overlays together and coordinated everything, and then had to teach his old man how to use everything because I am a complete Luddite. Not sure if you're aware of this. So we're just going to wait a few minutes here while everyone comes in and joins us on the live stream. And I just want to say hello to some names here I don't recognize. And forgive me if you've been here before, but maybe Dr. Strangelove. I think of Dr. Strangelove. Welcome, American Zero. Yes, American Zero. CW, Guru Karkar. Now, there's a new one I haven't welcomed, Guru Karkar. I don't remember seeing you before. Humpy Sweet. I'm not going to ask. CW, Dr. Strangelove. Who else do we have here? Starboard. Dirk Flint. Mary Barber. Don Willis. Heavy Thinker. Not... well, that's a new one. Wasn't it just Thinker before? Anyway, welcome. Not Gordian, of course. Who else do we... And, there she is. YY. Welcome, YY. Who else do we have here? Bella. Welcome to Bella. Toxic Canadian, of course. Welcome, everyone. Cannabis _ geneticist. I love these handles. Dylan Thibbert. Howdy to you. Diane M. Tanya Bauer. You betcha. You betcha. You betcha. Let's see here. Mystic Gnome. I think that's just about everyone. All right. Let me just put that up there. Make sure my live chat is working properly. There you are. Okay. Whoops. You see, it's going to take me a little bit of getting used to. I'm supposed to use the cursor over here. There we go. All right. So the live chat is working. Thank you all for joining me. Just to give you a heads up, I'm going to do a little bit of news, some items in the news, and then I'm going to welcome our guest tonight, Canada's Edgar Casey, the man with X-ray eyes. Dr. Douglas James Cottrell is standing by from his home office in London, Ontario. We're going to talk a little bit about some exciting developments in his professional life and probably do some predictions. And one of my favorites, we'll do another remote viewing experiment. And of course, everyone watching and everyone in the live chat, I encourage you to participate as well. All right, let me see if I can get this working now. I want to talk about some items in the news that I just came across the other day. These are fascinating. Of course, we just lost Queen Elizabeth II, but about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I guess, we lost Prince Philip. He died in 2021. Now it turns out that I did not know this. Prince Philip, very, very interested in UFOs. And there have been calls for Prince Philip's UFO investigation files to be released to the public. Whoops. There we are. Until 2009, the UK's Ministry of Defence actively investigated the UFO phenomenon, but it wasn't just government officials who were interested in the topic. The late Prince Philip, who died in 2021 at the age of 99, held quite a fascination for the subject as well. The Duke allegedly became interested in UFOs after his uncle, Lord Mountbatten, of course he was killed by the IRA in 1979. And Mountbatten wrote an official report about a strange object that landed at his estate in Romsey, Hampshire back in 1955. Now, this is where it gets weird. In it, Lord Mountbatten again, this is an incident that happened to him in 1955. He described witnessing a saucer-shaped craft which hovered just above the ground before a strange man wearing overalls and a helmet descended to the ground. He was then knocked off his bike and pinned to the floor by an invisible force. Fascinating. Whoops. All right. The report was only made public after Mountbatten's death in 1979. To keep up to date on the subject, Prince Philip had reportedly maintained a subscription to the journal Flying Saucer Review and had even looked over military reports about the phenomenon. The books he owned about UFOs included The Halt Perspective, which details the experience of Colonel Charles Halt. Of course, that's the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident back in 1980. Philip's secretary was alleged to have written to the book's co-author. Where are we here? Written to the book's co-author, retired West Midlands Detective John Hanson, to express the Duke's interest in reading it. He also was thought to have owned a copy of Haunted Skies, the Encyclopedia of British UFOs. Wow, just fascinating. Now, here's something that someone sent to me, and it's on Reddit. And I'm never on Reddit. This is the new logo, apparently. Something called the Office, well, I know what the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is, but this is a sort of a sub-department within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. It's the NIM, aviation. So it's NIM stands for, I believe, National Investigation Manager for Aviation. All right, so NIM Aviation is a part of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. What do you notice about their logo? You've got a jet here, a fighter jet. I don't know what this is. This could be a drone. What do you think? Is that a drone? But look down here. Look at that. That's a flying saucer. No two ways about it. That's a flying saucer. So I thought, okay, well, this is Reddit, and there are people on the thread here or whatever saying, is this for real? Is this for real? So I went on the actual NIM aviation homepage to check it out. And there it is. The National Intelligence Manager for Aviation, NIMA. There's the logo. Same UFO. I mean, unless someone hacked into the website and put that in there. And then if you scroll down, there's a message from the Executive Director, Major General Daniel L. Simpson. And there it is again. There's the logo on the far right. And there's that UFO. What are they? Let me scroll down a little bit further. There we are. What on earth are they trying to tell us? I just thought that was fascinating, and I wanted to share that with you. All right. Another important item in the news. Italy has a brand new government. The right-wing led Brothers Party, led by Giorgia Meloni. She's a force of nature, 45-year-old, Italy's first prime minister, winning the election according to exit polls. And this is a right-wing coalition, a right-wing alliance led by, again, the Brothers Party. The Brothers, the name of the party comes from the first line of the Italian national anthem. Brothers of Italy have awoken, or something like that. I don't remember the name I don't remember the national anthem off the top of my head, but that's where the name of the party comes from, the national anthem. And her brother's party, Brothers of Italy, is looking to form a majority, not only in their House of Commons or their lower parliament, but also in their Senate, together with Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia, that's Go Italy, and the League, the Northern League Party, with Matteo Salvini. All three of these parties in this coalition will garner about between 41 and 45% of the vote, and that'll translate because they also have proportional representation. They have a combination of first past the post and proportional representation. So Italy just reduced the size of their parliament. They streamed it down to 400 members in the lower house. This coalition will get somewhere between 227 and 257 of the 400 seats in the lower house, and between 111 and 131 of the 200 Senate seats. So that is a clear majority. So Italy, like Sweden just a few weeks ago, have elected a right-wing conservative national populist party. This is a trend to watch out for. This is moving across Europe, and I, for one, am pleased with this development, moving away from these countries that are beholden to the World Economic Forum and the globalists. Italy moving to the right, first female first female prime minister. Is that what you call a Freudian slip? And of course, the mainstream media is calling them neo-fascists. Now, there's no question that the party's early beginning had some rather unsavory characters, but she has expunged that element from the party, much the same that Marine Le Pen did with her father's old party, which is now called the National Rally, I believe. It's not the party that it once was. And yes, there are a couple of Benito Mussolini's descendants in the party, but the sins of the father not to be visited upon the sons, right? So we'll watch with interest as Giorgia Meloni. It'll take a while for her to form this government. These things move slowly in Italy. I don't think the parliament is set to meet again until the middle of October, and then the president, well, at that time, will ask probably Meloni to try and form a government, and it'll take a while. It'll be probably another month before her government and her cabinet and so forth are sworn in. But again, tonight, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, the next prime minister of Italy. All right, now let me see if I can. There we go. Hey, how do you like that transition? Douglas Cottrell, Dr. Douglas James Cottrell, I should say, has been with me since the beginning on this program and its various incarnations on radio, going back to 2000, when I started it on CFRB 1010 in Toronto on Sunday nights. I took the show over to AM 640, which was then called Mojo 640 Talk Radio for Guys. I had a Friday night show there, same type of content, and then back to CFRB, and I did a weekday evening show, Monday to Friday. That was called The Night Side, I think, with Richard Serrett. And then over to Zoomer Radio, of course, beginning in 2009, until we just wrapped it up almost a month ago. Hard to believe. But we're going to keep this live stream going at least once a month. Maybe eventually we'll build it up to twice a month. And incidentally, before we bring Douglas onto the live stream, just a reminder, every Thursday we have Throwback Thursdays, and we dive deep into the audio archives and we pull out an old episode of The Conspiracy Show from Zoomer Radio and replay it Thursday nights. And then, of course, the podcast, which drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll put a portion of that podcast up on the YouTube channel as well. We're going to try and we're building it up. It's taking some time, but we're getting there. So you should have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You should have some content, Throwback Thursday, and then at least once a month, maybe eventually twice a month, we'll do this live stream. And of course, some of you noticed in the live chat, hey, why are we starting earlier? Some of you asked for that. Tomorrow's a work night or a work day, a school day. So we thought, no need to start at 11 p.m. We'll start it a little bit earlier. All right. So Dr. Douglas James Cottrell is a remote viewer, a medical intuitive, a healer, clairvoyant, and the author of a number of fascinating books, including Gems of Wisdom, Secrets of Life, Conversations with the Akashic Field, The Complete Guide to New Age Health, and many, many more. And it's always a great pleasure to welcome Douglas to the program. Let's see if we got this working. There we are. There we are. Can you hear me, Douglas?
Loud and clear, Richard. Pleasure
Hey,
to be on your show
fantastic.
tonight and to participate in this experiment.
Everything works. Yeah, it's all an experiment. Everything tonight is an experiment. But
Everything here is new to me. And so there we go.
All right. I was just, obviously, before you came on, telling a little bit about our history, going back, well, before 2000, actually, because before I had my own show starting in 2000, I produced some late night programs, and you were a staple on a number of those. So really, I think we go back almost 30 years.
I think so, Richard. I mean, I don't look that old enough to go back 30 years.
You do
of
not.
course.
No.
That's vanity speaking, but I'm in my seventh decade. So, I can say with all honesty, yeah, it's been a long time. It was prior to meeting your wife. I think I had mentioned you were going to meet your lovely lady and gave you some personal prediction way back when. And your son is now producing the show here. This is, wow, what a road you've been, what a path.
That's it. Yes, in fact, you asked me to write the foreword to one of your books, well, a couple of them, but Gems of Wisdom. I actually, chronicled how you had predicted that I would be marrying my only bride, my bride for life, the mighty Aphrodite. You described her to a T.
Children, yeah.
Dark-haired, exotic-looking, my biggest fan, my harshest critic, all of those things. It all ended up being exactly as you called it. Probably about 5 or 6 years before we actually met. And we met at the radio station. So, I wanted to talk. We were talking off the air before the live stream tonight about some of the clients that you have had over the years, and of course, we're not going to name any names, but you were talking to me about people in the intelligence community that came to you for sessions. Do you remember the one conversation I'm thinking about in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I don't brag, and people at my so let's call it my level, we learn very early not to talk, and that gives you a step up on credibility. I know when I was going to California and I was staying at George Carlin's house, I became very close with George and his dear wife Brenda and their daughter Kelly, and no one knew that I was there. There were other movie stars coming for consultations, but zip. And unfortunately, other people who have made claims to movie stars go around bragging them. And one of the things that we were talking about off the air was that over the years, I've had people who are in the Secret Service, to put it that way. And I'm not talking about the government's detail. I'm talking about people who work behind the scenes.
Intelligence agents.
Intelligence agents, right. And one of the first encounters I ever had was a man who came for a session, and I was in my neophyte stage. I was about 24 or 5, and he came, and the way I would work back in the early days was similar to Edgar Casey and my mentor Ross Peterson, who was considered the new Edgar Casey back at the times. I would lay down on a couch and I would go into a meditative state that would be a little different than my conscious waking state. I would be sleep talking, put it that way. And this man came in and he sat down on the couch across from me, and I was about to go into my state of meditation, and he said, "Oh, just a minute." It was as if it was a last moment thought. He said, "Just a minute." And I watched him, and then he said, "Okay, let's begin." And I said to him, "What did you just do?" And he said to me, "You could see that?" And I said, "Yes." And what I saw was that for a moment, when again I was in a relaxed state, I could see that on his body, in a way to describe it, but it was a little different, but it would be like he had little plate mirrors all over his body, his neck, his face, all over. And as I was watching him after he told me to wait a minute, where these mirrors started to just disintegrate. and then I could see his suit, and I could see his face plainly. And so he was surprised. And I said, "What did you just do?" And then he asked me to describe what I saw, which I did. And I think at that point in time, I kind of went up a notch or two in his level of suspicion. And he said, "I've never had anybody tell me that before. Nobody has ever been able to see that," I think was his exact words. And so I learned very.
What was he doing, though, Douglas? What was he doing?
I didn't know he was a secret agent or an assassin or what he was in an intelligent business, but what he was doing was dismantling this reflective substance shield energy from around him so that other highly trained in the intelligence agency, and you can call them black ops or any kind of suspicious name because they live in a world of suspicion, he was protecting himself from intruding thoughts under psychic attack, if you will. And what that was doing, these reflected surfaces were rebounding any kind of telepathy, mind projection, remote viewing, attempting to discover who he was, where he was, that kind of thing, all done on the metaphysical
He sounds
level.
like a psychic soldier. So in other words, shields up. But then when he goes to see you, he has to have shields down if you're going to do a reading for him.
That's right. I would be looking into his mind and investigating or whatever I was doing. But at that moment in time, he just came in the door like anybody else, paid cash in advance, and said, "If anybody asks, I've never been here." And I went, "Okay, lots of people, doctors come. I've had some nurses and a priest or a nun come in. I understand, you want to use me, but you don't want to tell people you've been here. No worries." But at that point, it was serious. I mean, here was a guy, I don't know if he was an assassin or what he was, but I was spellbound. I was like amazed that I saw this disintegration of this shield around him. It's kind of a remote viewing up close,
Right.
so to speak. And we went ahead with the session. I have no idea what I said because years ago, now we're talking 1975 or something like that.
Do you remember what he came in and did he ask anything specific of you?
No, he seemed to know all about me. And of course, if he was in the intelligence business, he would have known all about me. But I don't remember what he asked, whether it was a health concern or whether it was politics. My wife would be the one that would be sort of assisting me. I go into like a state of hypnosis. And he left. We never saw him again. I have seen other people in the business from time to time, not many, but a few. But we just, as he left, I said to my wife, I said, "That was a really strange man." And she was a little scared. She didn't know this man had this energy, this presence about him. He was a big man. He wasn't obese, but he was heavy. But he handled himself very well. So whatever he came for, I do not know. But I know when I mentioned that he took down this shield or this mirrors or this integration of energy, that impressed him. Because he walked out the door, he shook my hand very firmly, and he said, "You're the real deal," or something to that effect.
Did you see him put the shields back up when he left?
No, I didn't.
No.
I suspect he, by that time he had the shields down. The session was over, and the handshake and leaving. We also give people a tape cassette at the time. That was a thing before CDs.
Cassettes, that's it. Ask your grandparents.
Yeah, ask your grandparents. And so we had a little cassette tape, 90-minute one, and played 45 minutes on one side. So we'd flip it over and say, "Okay, you got about 10 minutes left on the second side," and that's how the person got their hour session. And no, he left, and I was so curious about that that I mentioned this to my friend Ross Peterson. And I said, "Have you ever met sort of, people come, secret agents, assassins, And Ross confided in me, yes, he did. And he had we talk shop, so to speak. And again, this is, if you want to learn how to remote view and find people that are missing or other things, this is the business that Ross Peterson and I were in this deep trance clairvoyance, as we called it at the time. And Ross confided in me that he had met assassins, and the one assassin was a young man, and he was really upset and he wanted to know if he was going to go to hell. And Ross said, "It's not. You're not You're not going to go to hell. The people who have given you your orders, whoever they might be, those were the people that were responsible. And this man was an assassin." And so I said to Ross, with this fresh in my mind experience, I said, "So, what'd you think about that?" And Ross said, "Well, for the next several weeks, I was looking over my shoulder."
I'll bet. Yeah. I don't know about the not going to hell. I mean, I don't think he can, I don't think he can get off with the just following orders excuse anymore, but.
Well, if you're in this, you got to look in the worlds. We all live in different worlds, and this was this world. I did a lot of sessions. I'm not sure it was because of this man, but I ended up doing many sessions for our military. I did a session for some people, and he was a chief and she was a major, and they wanted to know where their next posting was going to be. And I said it's going to be in Kingston, Ontario. And both of them looked at each other like, this guy's full of bananas. No idea. They had no intentions. They were thinking Ottawa, Vancouver, or some nice place. But it ended up, they were posted in Kingston, Ontario. And he was a Navy chief. Man, he was a pretty serious guy. And that impressed him to no end. And then I met the Brigadier General, who gave me a nice letter. And I worked with our National Transport and Safety Board, and I was talking about the Gander air crash where the U.S. Marines were, I'll call them assassinated, although our Prime Minister's office said it was ice on the wings. When the plane was taking off from Gander, Newfoundland, it crashed on takeoff. And military planes are routinely washed. They're sprayed with that chemical that de-ices the wings.
Right.
And apparently this airplane was supposed to crash midway over the Atlantic. It was coming from the Middle East. And I had said that there was a cyanide bomb that misfired. It didn't go off. It landed, the plane landed, and then it took off again, and then it went off.
You remote viewed this.
Say again?
You remote viewed that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I was doing remote viewing. That's exactly right, because I was seeing what happened to the plane when it was, I was giving details that it was supposed to go off over the mid-Atlantic, that somebody snuck this in when the plane was on the tarmac in the Middle East. And I described where this bomb was, and the cyanide bomb was up near the pilot's feet, under his feet somewhere in the cockpit. And military planes don't have any bulkheads. They're all open straight back.
Right.
And the soldiers sit backwards in the plane. So there's a bar that goes across the back of their head, and they're looking towards the tail of the plane. And they sit 3 or 4 across. And the describing all this information about the details of the plane, I said that the cyanide bomb went off, and then that's what the pilot lost control, and the plane just mushed into the ground and crashed. And here's the proof of that, because there has to be proof. It can't just be, that's a good theory, Douglas. Yeah, maybe you've been, watching planes take off and land, and you kind of, you're guessing. No, the plane crashed, and most of the soldiers in the back were decapitated because that bar that ran behind their head, when it crashed, their heads snapped off. Inside their lungs, there was cyanide gas. How does somebody who doesn't have a head breathe cyanide gas?
Right.
So the Brigadier General was extremely impressed by this. I was called to Ottawa. I met
they shared the results of the autopsies and everything with you?
Well, no, not the autopsies. They told me information, okay?
Okay.
I mean, Douglas, just blah, blah, blah. And this is cyanide gas in their lungs. You were absolutely right. The bomb went off first. The plane crashed. People died. The plane didn't burn up. I don't think there were, it crashed. It just went up and smacked down. Mr. Crosby, I think his name was our
Crosby. Crosby. Yes.
He was adamant.
John Crosby.
Yeah, Crosby. He was adamant that it was ice on the wings. He wasn't taking any other answer. 4 or 3 of the National Transport and Safety Board investigators, of which the general was one, resigned over it. Now, as I said, I went to Ottawa. I was brought in. I was introduced to some people, and I'm getting nervous that, I'm getting involved in over my head. I'm a young man. I got a family and children. And so I always was worried that, somebody would like to, take care of me. I mean, might sound paranoid, but it's a thought you have. After this,
right? Because they wanted to keep this from the public. I mean, what you're telling us never came out. This was officially, it was
Ice on the Wings.
Ice on the Wing. That's the official narrative. And when did this happen? Like 1985 or something?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I don't think it was that late, but I think it was more towards the 70s, but I can't remember. That's the honest truth. But it's on the internet, and at one time there was published that cyanide gas was in the cockpit, and they left it at that. That has now been sponged from the official story. But I read it, and I think I printed it out one time.
Yeah.
The general after the fact told me that I had done this and done that. And again, I went there, as I said, to Ottawa, and there I met some very important people. They're just checking me out. I guess they were maybe, and I did a lot of sessions for people in other places in the military along that way.
Sorry, I'm just gonna pull this up here quickly. This is Aero Air Flight 1285R. McDonnell Douglas DC jetliner operated as an international charter flight carrying U.S. troops from Cairo, Egypt to their home base on Fort Campbell, Kentucky via Cologne, West Germany and Gander, Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
The accident was investigated by the Canadian Aviation Safety Board. Shortly after takeoff, again, this is December 12th, 1985, shortly after takeoff, en route to Fort Campbell, the aircraft stalled, crashed, and burned about half a mile from the runway, killing all 248 passengers and 8 crew members on board. Let's see here.
I'm getting flashbacks, as you say. They did crash, but it didn't burn up. They had several bodies that they were,
sure. The accident was investigated by the Canadian Aviation Safety Board, which determined the probable cause of the crash was the aircraft's unexpectedly high drag and reduced lift condition, most likely due to ice contamination on the wings, as you said, leading edges and upper surfaces, as well as underestimated onboard weight. A minority report, now this is interesting, Douglas, a minority report stated that the accident could have been caused by an onboard explosion of unknown origin before impact, with one of these dissenting investigators later telling a United States congressional committee that a thin layer of ice could not bring down the aircraft. The dissenting report led to delays and changes to de-icing procedures, and a thin layer of ice caused the deadly crash. Okay, so that's a minority report.
Yeah, you're listening to the whitewash, the legalese, the politics. I mean, what they did not want to, as I was told later in confidence, they did not want to give any credit that somebody in, I think Egypt is where they took off. They didn't want to give anybody credit that they had sabotaged a flight,
right? That
was successful. And so that report's there because that's the truth. And whoever that dissenting person on the National Transport Safety Board, I'll bet you he was like a brigadier general or somebody like that.
So were you, obviously they didn't want this information to get out. You knew about it. You saw it. You reported it. Were you worried that maybe they might come after you?
No, because again, I don't talk. Although I was met with people in Ottawa, I was probably being groomed to be more useful to them in different ways. But there was it was a really contentious and hostile back and forth between the National Transport Safety Board and the Brigadier General's friends and himself. 3, maybe 4 quit. And so I didn't get too far. And in order to discredit the general, the rumors started circulating that he deals with psychics.
Right. So
that kind of discredited him, but I still did sessions for other people in various departments or levels for a time.
So you said that you were being groomed for something else in Ottawa. Like, are you talking about being a psychic spy for the government?
Not necessarily a spy, but what's going to happen? Where am I going to go for my career if we do this? Like what's in the mind of some political leader, things like that. It was not a spy per se, but as somebody, and I was in New York, and I was called down to the United Nations, and there were some people there. Actually, I was called to some embassies. I'm not going to say what they were. I shouldn't say I was called to the United Nations. I lived just up the street. I stayed just up the street. I didn't live there. I stayed there for as an invitation of some people, and then I went to some various embassies, and they were asking me more along those questions. But what about this general? What about that? That kind of stuff.
Right.
So I was not. It's the same as when I look for the remains or somebody that's lost, or there's a famous one where somebody in Colorado drowned in a stream, and I located that he was drowned, and then I said two people were going to find him that were fishermen, and he was found. And the Colorado newspapers carried the story with the exact details of the circumstance, environment, and all those things that were pertinent. That I was in London talking to somebody on a radio show who lives in Edmonton, and their relative was in Colorado. So I was giving that information. But at that point in time, I don't like to do that. I don't go treasure hunting. I don't go for most wanted. There are people coming asking for that. And the military was the same way. I kind of didn't want to, again, young man, not knowing what kind of endeavor I was getting into. I didn't really rush into it. I had calls from the RCMP and other people, and I don't call them back all the time. If a family member calls them, I do it as an experiment. I don't charge any money. And many, many times we have given information, facts that have led to the recovery of somebody, or if they've been kidnapped, where they are. One I was on, I might have been on your show, but I might have been on another one in Toronto, where people called up and they said, "Where's our teenage daughter?" I said, "She's at the Eden Center downtown. I can see the geese in the rotunda or the mall, and
Right.
she's with a big tall guy who's older than her." And I said, "That's it. That's what I see." That was a snap, sort of a remote view of that. And the two ladies who were sisters, one the mommy and one the aunt, called the police up. They went over to the Tea Eaton Center, and there they were,
Wow.
walking through the mall. They put the arm on the man and arrested him right on the spot. And the little girl was like 13 or 14, and he was about 18 or 19. And they told me the story. They called me back and said, "We caught him. We've got him." And I said, "You mean you actually called the police and they went there and he was there right at that time?" And they said, "Well, of course, Douglas, you told us he was there." So I was surprised at how quick that was. I was saying they were there, meaning they might have passed through, whatever. But when you're remote viewing, sometimes you see exactly the moment that something's happening. It takes a while to distinguish between seeing something a little bit in the future and seeing something that's live streaming like we're doing tonight. But I stay away from it because the emotions are really bad on that, and especially when you find somebody who's been brutally harmed or something like that. I will answer. It's if people ask me, it's like my Christian belief. If somebody comes up to me and puts their hand out, I'm obligated as a Christian to give them money.
Right.
It doesn't how much I give them is my choice, but I'm
Right.
obligated. They've got their hand out. So the same when somebody asks me and says, "What about?" And I tell them what I see, and that's what I teach people. Tell me what you see. Don't tell me what you think.
Right.
But we've gone over a few decades here in some of these stories. But that one with the general, that was pretty serious. And he had some serious enemies. And now we're talking international espionage, assassins killing a whole plane full of U.S. Soldiers who were on their way home from I guess combat duty or something, unrest in the Middle East. I wasn't afraid. I had the general, and God watches over me, so I wasn't afraid. But I was concerned that I was going to get into something, as you always do. If you're a policeman and you're going out and you're arresting bad guys, you don't want to have a wife and kiddies at home thinking that the bad guys might find out where you live and come and do bad things.
Right.
So
Right.
that kind of attitude. But I've been unafraid. I mean, now that at my age, I'm unafraid. I have no issues with dealing with people in governments. I still do.
Dr. Douglas James Cottrell is with us, and we should point out, for those not aware, from time to time, about 3 times a month, I guest host, Coast to Coast AM, and coming up in October, I'll be doing October the 1st, and then I'll also be hosting the 15th and the 16th of October. But on October the 1st, you'll be joining me in the first half of the program. And we'll do another remote viewing experiment. We've done a series of them on Coast to Coast. We did a series of them on my late radio program and on my podcast. And we're going to do another one tonight. Probably
and we should tell everybody you are an amazing remote viewer. You have incrementally become better and better and better. And yes, I know what I'm talking about, and I know how to set the scene, so to speak. So it's like we're going to do tonight, and we're going to make it an easy remote view mystery object tonight. But you've come up pretty darn close with. Well, sometimes you've nailed it right on the exact image. And folks, he's conducting the radio show. He's got commercial breaks. He's got the producers screaming at him. He's got telephones coming in. And he was able to compartmentalize his mind, which is important, and was able to see colors, shapes, and exactly the object. That one that you saw, that silver-colored miniature airplane,
right.
You went through the whole show, and you nailed it. And so did several other people in your audience and seeing other objects. So
yes.
I can increase people's intuition 20, 25, 30% right off the bat. And that's what we're doing here tonight, talking about this. But anybody going back in time, Richard Serrett could make a living as a remote viewer.
All right. We're going to do that at the bottom of the hour, and I'll invite everyone in the YouTube live chat. If you want to participate, please do. I always find it handy to have a little notepad and pen or pencil, and I doodle. And I find that the last time we did one, and it was a JFK silver dollar or a 50-cent piece.
It was about 3 inches across. I picked it up at the books depository myself, but when we took the photograph, it looked like a 50-cent piece. It was exactly that. It had the markings and the date and things like that. And you were doodling it.
I was doodling it, but I didn't know what I was looking at. And I was getting my mind in the way. But I was doodling it, and when I look back at, I was drawing exactly pretty much what you had. Anyway, you'll have the object on your desk. It'll be hidden from view, obviously. We'll do that at the bottom of the hour. But first, we need to talk about what's happening next in the next stage of your professional life as a remote viewer, as an intuitive, as a healer, as a teacher, and it involves the great state of Texas. Tell us about it.
Well, a long time ago, I had a vision when I was wearing a big, 5-pronged star sheriff's badge on my chest in this vision or dream, and I was going to New Jersey at that point in time. I seemed to go in different parts of the world, as I've done Spain and Argentina and Norway and France and different places. I seemed to go there for a time. And anyway, I had this badge on my chest in a vision or dream, and it had the word sheriff on it or something. And I thought, what the heck's that all about? Well, I stopped going to New Jersey and moved on to different places. And then all of a sudden I'm invited to Texas. And so we now have in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, mostly Fort Worth, we're establishing an organization, and that organization will teach people to develop their abilities that you can call the noetic sciences, you can call them the spiritual gifts, you can call them intuition. And I can guarantee people, they start taking my course right away, between 15, 20, 30%, they will increase their spiritual abilities. But this is going to be something big. This is going to take us into the realm of a school, of an organization of people who need to come together now. We need to come together because of what's coming up. I have predicted on your show in the past, Earth changes. I predicted on a show a long time ago that the oceans were heating up in temperature, not 1, not 2, but 4 degrees Celsius. And that's why we're having the weather conditions and the storms that we're having now, because the oceans are hot. We've talked about volcanoes and earthquakes, not just throwing them out, but specific. This particular organization, if you're hearing my voice and you have any interest and you want to know the truth, and you want to be able to see through time and space, and you feel you have what it takes to be somebody that can help the world, that you can see the truth, and you want to come together, you're fed up with the lies, you're fed up with the fake everything around you, and you want to find the truth, and you want to develop yourself to be the best you can be, this is where we're going. We're going to start this in Texas, and this organization is going to go around the planet. Now, I'm at such an age, I don't have any axe to grind. I'm not out for money, never have. But I'm reaching out to people who seem to be interested in this, who seem to have this notion that the world needs to come together with good people, if I can call it that, with people who are inspired. And as being primarily a Christian man and a Christian faith, this is where I believe God is taking me. And we're not here to exclude people. We're here to include people. So if you feel like you want to measure up, you want to give it a try, you can come to the International School of the Prophets. Is the website we have now. It will soon be called Many Mansion Spiritual Center.com. Centers.com, excuse me, Many Mansion Spiritual Centers.com, and that is just in the way right now. It's in the production
works.
and I'll be in the works, and I'll be there soon. I've been to Fort Worth. I love the place. I feel at home. People have had dreams about me wearing a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, and I go, yeah, I used to have horses when I was about in my 30s, but I would love to have a place in Texas where I can watch the horses run. Not sure if I can ride on them like I used to, but well, I'll give it a try. But this is really big. This is something that's going to be earth-changing, world-changing, world-uniting, and we're looking for people who feel that they've got the right stuff.
So there's going to be an actual physical building down there.
It'll be huge. Yes.
Right.
I remote viewed it, if you will, through my dreams/visions. It'll be huge.
You'll be holding classes in remote viewing, developing intuitive abilities in energy healing, all of that stuff.
All the things that you could say a modern day prophet should have, and I hate to use that word. It's not prophet with a FIT at the end. It's the prophet spelt the poverty way.
That's right.
And so, as we reach out into space, I have seen the future. I unabashedly can say I can see the future, and people hear it say to you, nobody can see the future. Just read my books, go to Richard's shows, and you'll see many of the predictions I've made have come true, including, it was a few months ago that I, on Richard's show, said that the Queen would be passing the crown this year. I didn't say she was going to die because that would be impolite. And I think the last time I was on your show, you brought that up, and it has, Queen Elizabeth has passed the crown to her son, King Charles.
That's right. Yep. You made that prediction. That's for sure.
That's one of many, but if you're interested in seeing world politics, seeing the truth, and you want to be part of the new, let's say, the new consciousness on the planet, this is where we're going. We're sure that it's going to be big because we've seen it. People are coming together now, and that's why I'm being so forceful, if you will, or so positive about this. If you want to go there, you can email me, info@DouglasJamesCottrell. You can visit my website, DouglasJamesCottrell.com, but the new websites will be Many Mansion Spiritual Centers, ERS.com, and that's in the works now. But the International School of the Prophets is up there right now, internationalschoolofprophets.com. So whatever we're doing, it's going to be big.
And
I hope that
is there a launch? Is there a launch date?
We are actually, this October is when we're going to put this, get the team's already together. And so we're putting this together, and I was going to go to Texas maybe next month, October, but it looks like the weather is not going at us. Midterms are coming up, going to be hostilities around the continent and in the country. So it might delay it a little bit as far as getting the building established, but yes, it's in the works. Might be delayed until January.
All right. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, not a commercial break per se, just give people time to go get some water. You can go get some water, take a trip to the sandbox, as they used to say, and then when we'll come back, we'll begin this remote viewing experiment. Dr. Douglas James Cottrell is with us. DouglasJamesCottrell.com, the website, DouglasJamesCottrell.com, COTTRELL, DouglasJamesCottrell.com, our remote viewing experiment coming up. All right, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. All right, welcome back. Our inaugural live stream post the Conspiracy Show radio program. Just a reminder, Thursday nights on this channel, we have Throwback Thursdays, when we dive into the audio archives and play an hour of an old radio program. And we have archives dating back to 2012. So we've been playing some oldies and goodies the last several Thursdays. And thanks to Ryan White, my live stream producer, for putting those together. And we've started to upload portions of my my podcasts. Richard Serrett's Strange Planet podcast, which drops every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can find that podcast wherever podcasts are available. And incidentally, if you want to sort of go deeper, if you enjoy the podcast, you can become a premium subscriber. Just go to https://www.supportingcast.fm. Don't put www in the URL. I've made that mistake. So it's https:// no www, just strangeplanet.supportingcast.fm. In fact, the link is in the description here. And then you can subscribe. There are 3 tiers actually to choose from. And with the subscription, you can get commercial-free listening. You get access to my monthly newsletter, which we just published, the September issue of Inner Sanctum. And depending on which tier you get, you also get a bonus episode or up to 2 bonus episodes per month. And then we do a live, exclusive live Zoom where you get to ask me anything. And that one is coming up on the 25th of this month, actually, I believe. Next Friday? Is that this? When is that now? I'll have to check. Anyway, we'll be doing that. No, it's on the 30th. My apologies. Today's the 25th. We'll be doing that the 30th. Again, that's for premium subscribers to my podcast. Before we get back to Dr. Douglas James Cottrell and our remote viewing experiment, there's something else I wanted to do here. This is it. I want to thank our Patreon donors who make this YouTube channel and other work possible. So thank you all. AC Duesenberg, Anona Pony, Anthony W., Carol N., Catherine P., Christopher C. They're all there. Thank you all. And a special thanks to Deep Paul and Tim Sullivan. Deep Paul and Tim Sullivan. These are our top tier Patreon supporters. But thank you all. Thank you all so much. All right. Someone in the live chat put this up. I just want to see if I can pull this up here. 1 second here. I'm going to do that a little bit later. But someone made a very kind comment. Where is it now in the live chat? It's Rich in Connecticut. Rich in Connecticut. If Art Bell and George Knapp had a baby, it would be Richard Serrett, ? Thank you very much, Rich in Connecticut, for that. All right, let's get back to Douglas James Cottrell. Dr. Douglas James Cottrell and our remote viewing experiment. So there may be some new people who've never participated in one of these before. How this is going to work, Douglas?
Well, I have a object on my desk out of camera view. You've not seen it.
No.
I've made it very simple. It's the object tonight is very simple. Other times we have had a little more complicated issues, but I thought tonight, being the first time on the live stream, that we would make it simple. The intention, my friends, is to not let your intellectual mind get in the way. This is on my desk. It is not something like a paper clip or scissors or anything to do with the desk in that fashion. This is an object. It will fit in the palm of my hand. It's one color, and it has a distinctive shape. Now, I'm setting out the parameters so that your mind will be able to focus on the object. I'm going to look at the object, and I'm going to get you to allow this object to develop in your mind's eye. In the old days, when you took a picture, you used to put it in a chemical wash, and that chemical wash would allow the paper it was exposed to light and the chemicals, the image would start to appear. The kahunas have the same idea, where thoughts are in the ethers, and it's like a sandstorm, and as the thought gains more prominence or it becomes critical in its mass, it comes into a solid object and it falls down into the world, and we have developed something. Everything that you looked at or looking at right now has been in somebody's mind first. Somebody looked at the computer screen and developed it because that's what they saw in their mind's eye. It of course, wasn't like they saw something and they did it. It developed and it took some time. So the intellectual mind is the enemy of the intuition or the intuitive mind. You think with two levels of your mind. The intellect has been trained to discern and to be logical and rational. The intuitive mind just sees things. And that's the secret. Tell me what you see. Don't tell me what you think. And if you follow along that line, Richard uses a notepad where he starts to doodle. And what he's doing is he's actually allowing his mind to come to those parameters of what the object looks like. Now, a hit doesn't necessarily mean you have to see it as if you're looking at it with your mind's eye, because you're really looking at it with the top of your head, your intuition. So as you allow this to form, if you can get the shape, the size, the color, or some detail, that's a hit. If you can see more and more detail, that's better. And Richard has done it in the past, where if you listen to the shows that he's had me on, the coast-to-coast ones, there are amazing developments in how he came to see the object completely. But people across the U.S. called up and said, I see this, and they were exactly right. Now, I can say those things, and you can believe them, or you can, be suspicious. I certainly am very suspicious of everybody that claims to be intuitive until I get to know them and see what they've done. I'm going to tell you a quick story. One night on Coast to Coast, we had a Rubik's Cube as our mystery object. Colorful, definite shape, fits all the parameters. I emailed the mystery object photo ahead of time to the producer who was going to do the great reveal. Today I'm just going to hold it up. And unfortunately, Richard got to see that object by the email being sent to him. So I had to, in a hurry, come up with a secondary object, which was a little toy ambulance. So that was our primary mystery gift. Richard could see details. He could see the windshield. He could see sort of the shape, as did other people. Some people, however, called up and said, I see it as a Rubik's Cube. Plain blurted it out. And I said something, you must be time traveling, because that was going to be the object, and it was going to be on my desk here tonight, like this mystery object is. But unfortunately, it's not.
Right, I remember that. That was remarkable.
And I know we want to get to this real fast. The closure of that was I took the Rubik's Cube and I left it at my desk office in my home, which was the same color as my office in my office, which was about a 10-minute drive away from my home. People were actually remote viewing and seeing the Rubik's Cube on my desk at home during the time of the show. They were just going to my home, not my office.
Exactly.
So that was a double-blind statement that was astounding to me. So tonight I have the object in front of me. Again, the parameters are, it'll fit in my hand. It's a distinctive color and has a shape that you should see. So what you do is you allow your mind to come to my house and look down on my desk. My desk is white. It's not brown. It's white. The curtains were brown. Last time we did the show, Richard saw the color brown, and that was my curtains behind me. So I tried to clean off my desk. I'm not going to find all the stuff that was there earlier tonight. I'm going to have to look for it tomorrow. But anyway, I cleaned off my desk, and there should be very little you can see. I have a photocopier over here. It's large, and it doesn't count if you see it. This is a color on my desk I'm looking at right now. Again, fits in my hand, is a certain shape and a certain color, and you should be looking in your mind's eye, looking at what is on a plain cream whitish colored desk as this object is in front of me.
Right.
What do you see, Richard?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I've been drawing, and I'm going to draw a little bit bigger here. And I'm just going to hold that up. I don't know if you can see that, Douglas. Do you see that?
Just a minute while I put on the cheaters. It's not exactly that.
Okay. That's what's coming into my head right now. I'm just seeing a shape, but
Well,
I
let me
will.
put these out of the way. Just
Okay.
in case.
All right. So that's not the shape. So I'm just going to keep.
It's not rounded.
No. But for whatever reason, I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm looking around my desk to see if it's something else. While Richard is doodling, at one time Richard saw the lamp that was on top of my photocopier, and it was a round, upside down bowl with holes in it. And Richard saw it. He said, "It looks like an upside down bowl and has holes in it." And it was the lamp. And I'm looking around my desk, I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I do have another object on here that I'm going to show you later that might fit what you drew, but it's
Okay.
off. But it's not the shape. It's a distinctive shape. I'll look at it again. Keep going. You're getting close.
Okay.
What's the color?
I just got a note from my from North, my live stream producer, just saying we're getting a bit of an echo from you, Douglas. Not sure what that might be.
If I turn down my keyboard, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, that's the keyboard echo probably.
Okay. All right.
That sound better?
Yeah, he's going to go into the other room and he'll come back. But okay, so
I have my microphone. It's shut off.
All right.
Which is again out of the way. I'm trying to look at it. Does that look like?
All right. William Daniels in the live stream said, "I drew the doorknob." Yeah, it did look like a doorknob. Actually, it does look like a doorknob.
The doorknob's right over there. So yeah.
Well, that's no great feat. Every door has a doorknob. So,
I'm looking at my microphone and I'm thinking, does that look like it a bit?
Interesting. True. Maybe I'm seeing the microphone. Excellent point. Did we solve the echo there, North?
I'll bring it in the camera. Whoops. Trying to have my. You see, that looks sort of what you had. There's a round thing hanging out.
Right. Maybe it was the microphone.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought I was far enough away.
Okay. So let me just see if what we're getting in the live stream here.
Tell me what you see.
Someone said I'm seeing magic mushrooms. It doesn't look like a mushroom. Thinker says we're still echoing. Yeah, sorry about that, Thinker. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. Mystic Gnome says, I see all sorts, so many things.
Yeah, there's stuff on my desk over here. I'm trying to keep it away like the copier. This is right in front of me. It's a white, click on the white part of the desk. I'll bring it a little closer to me. It's still on camera view. Fits in my hand.
Let's see. Not Gordian. I picture something round and clear. Mystic Gnome. Glass. Purple.
That's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, people are saying we're still getting that echo. I'm not sure why. Let me see here. Can you still hear me, Douglas? No. Okay.
Burning while I disconnect. My microphone is completely off now.
Yeah. Gary knew a pencil or dart, an arrow, Sally Scott, a gold coin. Let's see. Sally Scott, a gold coin. You betcha. I'm picturing a bell, a bicycle bell sitting on his desk. Okay, I got to focus here. Must focus.
And I'm trying to look around and see the objects on my desk that could possibly fit. Like the microphone does have that shape. And that could be the people looking down from above. Anyway, if it's in my hand, it's a single color and has a distinctive shape or size.
I did better when I was doing this on the radio. Now I have no excuse. I don't have the distraction of, throwing to a commercial break or...
Oh, we're having fun tonight, right?
Exactly.
I mean, this is, it's awesome. You got a shape, and I think you're probably locked onto the microphone because I look at it and it looks long and it's got mushroom out with the earmuffs on the top. So that's probably what you're looking at. Anyway, you're looking in my office. You're looking at it. It's white contrast is the desk, and it's a distinctive color and shape, and it's very simple. We took, actually, probably I should have picked a more complicated one.
Let me see now. I'm going to turn the page and wipe the slate clean here now.
Okay, well, I'm going to shout out to my friend Paul, who's my producer of my show. He's watching right now, and
let's see what they're saying in the YouTube
take
channel.
notes, Paul. Anyway, here it is.
Kawi Crash says it's a plum. Robert T, it's a coffee cup, white or black. YY says it's a cell phone.
Who was that?
YY, a cell phone.
Should we reveal it?
Yes, because I'm not getting anywhere this time. Here we go. A cell phone. Oh my gosh. YY. You've done it. Fantastic.
If you take that doorknob thing and you look at that this way, you'll see that it's rounded. Okay.
Well, thank you, but I don't know.
No, what I'm thinking is, Richard, you were looking at this.
The microphone? Maybe.
With the earphones on the side.
Possibly.
I don't want to turn it around because then I'll have trouble putting it together again. Yeah. So and that would be going down, the nose part going down, and the earmuffs on the top. So again, that would be up there. And as I look at it, as it's up there and looking down, that's exactly what it looks like. It has a piece coming this way and it has a round pulse that way.
Right. Okay. Well, YY? Absolutely. Yeah. No. Great job.
No, I picked it because it's simple. It's an old one. I think it's a 7 or something. It doesn't work. And it fits in my hand.
Yes, it does.
It is a single color and a distinctive shape. And the doorknob is just over there. The earphones are up there. They could fit that, and you did okay.
So someone said, "Is it an Apple phone?" There may have been others.
Or was it? Well, let me look here. Look at this. There's an Apple.
There's an Apple. There you go. I'm just seeing if there's anyone as well that YY, because YY said a cell phone, gold coin, keys.
Wow. Somebody said Bell.
Yep.
And this is what the object was going to be tonight.
There you go.
Oh. This is my grandfather's phone that sat on his desk at the
old rotary phone.
711 King Street West, or King Street, where King and Queen meet in Toronto, and sat on my father's desk on Signer Street, which is not too far away, and I have it for sentimental reasons sitting there. And okay. I was going to do that tonight, but I thought, no, there's going to be a dial, there's going to be this thing, but anyway, we settled on this. There is somewhere where it said fruit or whatever. We're probably looking at the Apple logo, which is there. I'm not trying to stretch anything. You saw that, and it's a distinctive shape. Fits in my hand, and it is so small, right? It's the old kind.
Oh, Mark said Apple. You were right. It's an Apple, but he saw the Apple on the back of the phone. So Mark Hempel, good for you as well. You saw the Apple, but YY saw the cell phone.
Yeah.
All right.
So it is an Apple, and remember, you're not seeing with your eyes. You're seeing with your mind. And so to have an idea of an apple, this is an Apple phone. So you see an apple, which extrapolates to what the object is.
Mark said, well, I saw red, though. So he was seeing an actual red apple. However, you got part of it right.
Okay, he was seeing red? The color red?
Yes.
Well, my mouse pad on the top of the copier, red.
There you go.
So I'm not trying to make what people are saying to fit. I'm just saying this is in the parameter of my desk. And if you look from the top down, which is how remote viewing is usually done, you can see that. And I've got stuff stashed away. I've got the curtains over all my paperwork. And I had my desk cleared off, I thought, so that nobody could actually make that mistake.
Right, yeah. You got to be really dialed in, no pun intended, with the phone, but and focused on the top of the desk. Otherwise, you're going to be distracted. Your mind is going to take you, you're going to see other things.
You see this way. And when I find remains or bodies or rings or whatever, it goes like this, right up. I can see the object and I can see what's around it, but it takes a lot of training to pull that back so then you have references around it.
Right, right.
And that's what we teach on the course. I can increase anybody's, as demonstrated tonight, you've had some heads, I can increase anybody's intuition 15, 20, 30% in one class.
Remarkable. Give us the details of this upcoming center that you're creating down in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, this will be a place where people will come. It will be like a university. You'll have to go through a process of being accepted, and as you go through, you'll be a certificate program. That when you come out of this, you'll have something in your hand that will validate who you are. You'll have immense training and experience, and you'll be able to stand by it because you're not going to get a certificate. This is not a certificate mill. You're going to have to earn the right. Now, things will happen to you that you'll report back to me or us, and we'll know where you are. Being able to see energy around somebody, being able to make clouds move in the air, for instance, because that's something that you can do with energy, the same as sending somebody virtue and having them feel that energy and feel it. This is basically who you are, my friends. This is what you are, and I'm here to be your example because the world needs us. And if you had a question, if you wanted to know the answer, if you wanted to know something about the future, and I have some predictions I've been making, and you want to see what's going to happen, then I'm available for you. The teacher is ready when the student appears. The student is ready when the teacher appears. And this is going to be huge, like no other organization in the world, because it's not money-based. This is something for you to find out who and what you are. And the world needs us right now.
All right.
So you're going to develop all the intuitive abilities or gifts. Everybody has a strength. I don't want to say everybody's going to be like me. No. Everybody has a strength, and we're going to teach you how to develop that. We'll look for the pitfalls. We're going to teach you the truth so you won't get in trouble. And you'll be able to develop yourself in an honest, easy, comfortable way, and you will be a master at what you do.
Will the courses be available online as well?
There'll be Zoom courses, yes. And that's what we're going to get started. What is coming up now is a conference that I will be attending. Maybe Richard, we can invite you to come down as well. And this will be a starting point. This will be a place where people can come together and through the will of the people, so to speak, we can do amazing things. You know, we always talk about where two or more are gathered in my name. Well, if we had 10,000 people gathered in one place, we can change the world.
So there'll be at some point there'll be a portal online where people can sign up. In the meantime, you're building a website, and again, it's called.
Well, you can go to my personal website, which is douglasjamescottrell.com, and I'm just going to go there now. And you go on, and it'll talk about this upcoming seminar that I'll just click on here myself.
Let me see if I can put it in here as well.
There's a banner. It says Remote Viewing Clairvoyance Workshop, October the 8th, 2022. And then you click on the banner, and it'll be live on Zoom October the 8th from about noon till 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock. We're saying 4 o'clock, but I always run over. And it details what you can expect. And I'm going to ask your audience right now, the test, you've passed this test many times yourself, Richard. The test is, if I say polar bear, do you see a polar bear in your mind's eye?
Immediately, yes.
How did it get there?
How did it get there? Indeed.
Yeah. And everybody out there who's seen the polar bear, if I were to ask them individually, they would say the polar bear is in a different pose. It's a different distance. It's doing something. As you look in your mind now, my friends, is the polar bear moving around? What's in the foreground? What's in the background? Can you see all that? If you can answer that yes, you're a prime candidate to do what I do if you want to dedicate yourself in a life that way. Otherwise, if you can't do it, well, then you're not in a visionary art. You're in more of the feeler arts and the dowsing arts and things like that. Because you need to be able to see visions and to see remotely. However, dowsers can walk through a field, they can find things, people can do map work, and they can find things with dowsing. So that's another way of the energy reaching out from their hands. But anyway, that's the test. If you can see polar bear, you can do well. If you want to do this, I'm not going to be around for a while. So I'm going to be here for a little while, but I'm not going to be well for too long. So you better come see me if you want to take my courses in the next little while. But this is a serious effort by a lot of very intelligent people to have people come together and develop their spiritual gifts, these talents, these abilities, this intuition. There's lots of names for it, from precognition, premonition, telepathy, remote viewing, astral traveling, mind projection, etc. I try to teach people what they're good at and get them better. So we're looking for people just like you. You can see the polar bear in your mind's eye. You're a prime candidate. If you can't, then sorry, it's not for you. But there's something else for you down the line, perhaps.
All right, Douglas. Just a reminder to everyone listening and watching that you'll be joining me on Coast to Coast AM on October the 1st. That's a Saturday, I believe.
That's a Sunday morning after the Saturday on the East Coast. It's Saturday afternoon at 10 p.m. on the Pacific Coast.
That's right, Saturday night Pacific Coast, because the show emanates out of Los Angeles, but it's early Sunday morning. But yes,
We'll be there, like
October the
usual.
1st, the first 2 hours, and you'll be with us, and we'll do another remote viewing experiment. We'll talk about some predictions, and hopefully I'll have a better game on than I did tonight. But
you got a lot on your mind tonight. And remember, it's being able to empty your mind. When you get into your normal element, like on Coast to Coast, although there's 1.8 million people or something listening, you're in your element. Today you were making sure everything was working. We had some issues before, and you have all these people. This is more intimate.
Right.
I think, and that these people are looking at you, and you're taking all that energy in. So don't be too hard on yourself. You did very well. I mean, if I look at that microphone and the earmuffs, that's pretty much what you drew, what you had drawn. But anyway, yes, congratulations to whoever. You got bragging rights.
Should we send YY a book? Can we send YY a book?
Well, I don't know. Maybe if well, we're friends. I can email me info@douglasjamescottrell.com.
Well, maybe YY should get a hold of me, and then I'll send you her mailing address.
You get the address, and we'll do that. Anybody else, of course, you want to send me an email or sign up, douglasjamescottrell.com. And International School of Prophets is in development right now. But soon will be Many Mansions Spiritual Centers, ERS.com. And that's in the works right now, and probably a website up this week. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Texas, my friend.
Oh, I love Texas. I'd love to come down and participate in any way that I can. And you and I will talk on October the 1st, Sunday morning, October the 2nd, I guess, but October 1st, Saturday night, Pacific Coast time, and we'll do another remote viewing experiment. Douglas, always a great pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure. Good night, my friend. God bless.
All right. All right, listen, we're going to take another quick time out, and when we come back, we'll do a Q&A. Ask me anything. We'll go into the live chat, so get your questions and comments ready, and as I say, we'll do that shortly. And we are back. Welcome back to the live stream, our post-conspiracy show radio live stream. Of course, we used to live stream every Sunday night. At the same time, I was doing my radio program, which wrapped up about a month ago. So this is our first live stream since, and we hope to do these. At the very least, we'll do one a month, but I think eventually we'll gear up and we'll do two a month, maybe every other Sunday. In the meantime, once again, don't forget on this YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And every Thursday is Throwback Thursday. We dip into the audio archives and play an old episode, going back as far as 2012 of the radio program. We play an hour of the program on a Thursday, and then portions of my podcast, which drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, will also go up on the YouTube channel. And then if you want to hear the whole conversation, you can subscribe to the podcast. All right, now let me see if I can get this working. We're going to go to our live chat. There we are. Got the live chat working. I pushed the right buttons. How about that? So, in the time that remains, we'll do kind of an Ask Me Anything, questions that you might have, suggestions for maybe a guest on an upcoming live chat or a upcoming live stream, or a guest for my podcast, even a guest maybe you'd like to hear on Coast to Coast. So, Toxic Canadian. Let me just switch over here so I can read it on this screen. Toxic Canadian, what are you drinking there? This is just plain water with a little, we call it Squirty Squirt. It's like Kool-Aid. There's another company that makes it. It's got a sweetener in it, but it's like stevia or something. 0 calories, and it just makes the water go down a little easier. So that's it. Nothing alcoholic in there. Let's see. Bella, great show. Thank you, Bella. Mark Hempel. Richard, can you shout out to a big fan of yours, George from Bradford, a longtime listener. Hey, George in Bradford, which is just up the 400, not too far from where I'm sitting. Thanks for listening. Isn't the Holland Marsh up in Bradford? It's beautiful up there. Okay, let's see. YY says, LOL, our chat is now the guest. That's it. You are the stars. You are the stars. Bella, Michael Tassarian would be a great guest from Ireland. Michael Tassarian. That name sounds familiar, Bella. Why do I know that name? Tell me a little bit more about him. Maybe I've had him on. Gary, is it New? Gary New or Gary Gnu? Richard, have you ever interviewed Stephen Harper? No. However, back in my producing days, did we have Stephen Harper on? We had, when I was producing a morning show at AM 640, we had the finance minister, the late Michael Flaherty, on the program several times. So I spoke to him on a number of occasions. And if memory serves, Stephen Harper, before he got into politics, was the federal director of it was either the National Citizens Coalition or the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. I can't remember which, but I remember having him on the radio all the time back then, whether it was National Citizens Coalition or I can't remember, or Taxpayer Federation, but he was a regular, semi-regular. Let's see. Richard, will you or have you broadcast from Greece? Yes, I have. Let's see. It was the second time I went to Greece. I took our boys. We rented an apartment just off the beach in Kalamata, and I arranged to do the show while I was over there on a Sunday night from the Elite Hotel, which is in Kalamata, which was like maybe a 5-minute drive from the apartment we were renting. And I would go there. Now, let's see. It was very early in the morning. 11 p.m. would have been like 6 in the morning in Greece. So I did the show 2013 from Greece for about 3 or 4 weeks, I think. And maybe one day I'll do it again. I hope to spend more time over there. Let's see. Hey, Richard from Burlington, Iowa. Oh, that's Susan George. Hey, Susan, welcome all the way from Burlington, Iowa. Great to have you. What else do we have here? how far have you looked into Freemasonry and Luciferianism? Well, I understand that people believe that Freemasonry is akin to Luciferianism. I'm not 100% convinced of that. I mean, I've talked about Albert Pike on the program, and we've done a number of shows. I did a number of TV shows. I mean, I can see an argument both ways. Freemasonry talking about the light bringer, and some textbooks that may even mention, Lucifer specifically. But I'm not able to make a definitive answer as to yes, it is Luciferian or satanic or anything. Freemasonry is not for me. I also find some of their rituals, if these are true, the descriptions of some of their rituals sound a little off-putting as far as that goes. So, but are Freemasons, conspiring to take over the world? I don't know. Have you seen Freemasons or Shriners at a parade? They're having a heck of a time just recruiting people. Shriners tend to be very elderly. They're driving around in their little mini cars, wearing those King Faisal curly boots, and they're barely able to organize a parade, let alone take over the world. Let's see. What else do we have? Rich in Connecticut. Will you... Oh, we already did that one. Will I broadcast from Greece? Yes. You missed my real question. Do you have pets, and what are they? What are their names? Toxic Canadian asks. We have a pet rabbit. It's a miniature dwarf. It's a dwarf bunny from the Netherlands. It's a beautiful, cute little bunny. He's house trained. He uses a litter box. Here's the interesting thing about Netherland dwarfs. They have these beautiful cobalt blue eyes. You would think with a white rabbit, it would be an albino and it would have pink eyes. No, the Netherlands dwarf has beautiful cobalt blue eyes. And he's a cute little guy. And we got him for our boys when they were in grade 4. And they named him Gimli because of the dwarf on the Lord of the Rings character. They didn't name him after Gimli, Manitoba. They named him after Gimli from Lord of the Rings. And we love him. He's a great little guy. Very easy. He loves to be held and patted and all that stuff. All right, I just want to check here, make sure this is working properly. There we go. Yep, that's good. Let's see. What other questions do we have? You betcha. I'm missing the radio show, although I don't miss staying up to 1 a.m. What are you doing with your Sunday nights now? Well, I'm here right now on this Sunday night, but the last few Sunday nights since we wrapped up the show, I'm just kind of relaxing. And I think we had a couple of movie nights here at our house with the boys, just trying to spend some time with the family and just gear up for, the work week that follows, because Monday to Friday, I'm doing a daily afternoon show on Saga 960 here in the Greater Toronto area. Saga 960, S-A-U-G-A, as in Mississauga. I think the transmitter's in Mississauga, but the show is heard across Toronto, and you can stream it live at saga960am.ca. And that airs from 4 to 6 p.m., and I'm usually in serious preparation mode starting at around 12 noon. So that takes up a good chunk of my time. And that program is nothing like really anything I've done before. It's just straight up hard news and opinion. My opinion, I think we have some pretty amazing guests on the show. Most recently, let me see, Paul Manafort, Donald Trump's campaign manager, who was in solitary confinement for quite a while, and then he received a presidential pardon. Paul Manafort's been on the program. Peter Navarro, who was Donald Trump's, well, he was there right from the beginning, one of only 3 White House advisors who was with Trump all the way through from the moment he came down the escalator in 2015 and announced he was running, all the way up until his final days in the White House. Peter Navarro was on the program recently. I've had Dr. Ben Carson on the show. Here in Canada, Maxime Bernier, the Honorable Max Bernier, from the leader of the People's Party, has been a frequent guest on the show. Dr. Leslyn Lewis, who was running for the Conservative leadership, was on the show. Pierre Poilievre, before he became leader, when he was running for leader, was on the show. I've had Dr. Peter McCullough, who's been very outspoken about you know what. So I would encourage you to listen to that program. And then the podcast continues Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then coast to coast on top of that, and the live stream here. So yes, I miss the radio show. I miss, the Sunday nights, but in a way, but in other ways, no, because I just had to give up something. I had to give something up. I couldn't, I had a lot of plates spinning in the air for a lot of years, and I was afraid at some point they were all going to come crashing down if I didn't just step back and take something off my plate. Let's see. Gary asks, he was asking me about Stephen Harper. I'd be interested to hear Harper's opinion of Trudeau. Yeah, publicly, I think he would be polite. In private, I'm sure he would tell you how he really feels about Trudeau. So too would a lot of former, members of the Liberal cabinet, people like Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin, and because the Liberals that we knew from back in the 90s and the 80s are not the Liberals that we have today. It's a completely different animal. Why? Richard, please tell us the story again about the haunted dresser that you exercised when your twins were babies. Well, yeah, was it I don't know that I said it was I suspected it might have been a piece of furniture that we brought into the house. Just a second, I'm just getting a thumbs up from North, my producer. Everything's working fine? Everything's okay? You want to write down a message? Okay. All right, so quickly, what happened was we were living in a big house up in Unionville, and I don't remember now how old the babies were. They were born in 2006. They may have been a few months old. And, the mighty Aphrodite and I would take turns, bottle feeding them at night and then rocking them to sleep. And the second floor, there was a long hall, and I would, they'd all be swaddled, and I'd be pacing back and forth until they would fall asleep. I would, maybe I would rock them for a while, and then I would get up and I would walk around with them and up on the second floor, and then eventually they would fall asleep, and I would take them into the room and put them into their crib. And so as I was walking towards the far end of the hall, and we had a guest room down at the far end, and if my mother would come and stay, she would sleep there, and one of my sisters or a brother or whomever would come, they would stay in the guest room. But it was empty most of the time. And as I was walking down there, and this was, I don't know, it might have been in the spring or the summer, it was not in the dead of winter. I remember that. I don't remember the exact month, but as I was walking down there, either with a child or without, and the door was closed, I just remember feeling this cold blast of air coming out from under the door. And I thought, well, that's odd. What is the air conditioning on? So I opened the door and stepped in, and sure enough, it was cold in the room. Not out in the hall, just in the room. And I think I checked the register on the floor, and there was nothing coming out of the floor. There was no cold air. It was definitely not an air conditioner on. It was just a cold room. And then I felt a real heaviness in that room, like a real heaviness. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? And then I felt angry. I got angry, and I felt certain that there was some presence in the room. And I remember shouting into the room, like, I know you're here. I don't know why you're here. I don't want you here. Get out, that sort of thing. And I went back to check on the boys. I guess I'd put them both in their crib. The mighty Aphrodite might have been sleeping at this point. She was exhausted. Because it wasn't too long after we brought them home. And I went back to the room a couple of times. And I just remember like getting really angry and not screaming because I didn't want to wake everybody in the house, maybe just kind of muttering under my breath, like, get out, get out. And eventually they left. Or it left, or whatever it was. It was gone, and the room was back to normal temperature. So I think I had this conversation with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, actually, not too long after it happened. God bless her, God rest her soul. And she was, we were trying to narrow it down, like, and she asked, had you brought anything new into the house? And I think it was, I'd have to remember, I think it was around that time we had purchased a bonnet chest, an antique bonnet chest from like the 1850s or something. That was the only thing we could think of, or I thought of. And she thought maybe that was it. So, but I don't remember actually exercising it. I wouldn't know how to exercise it. Maybe she did it remotely. I don't remember. Anyway, so that's the story. Why? Let's see. Norma V, what a surprise. Don Willis, peace unto Richard Sayre. Oh, peace unto you and peace unto the chat. Don Willis, thank you for that. Let's see. Diane M, what a great dad you are, Richard Sayre. Oh, thank you. Norma V is saying hello, everyone. Hello, Norma. Diane M says, I miss visiting Canada at Lake Huron. Yes, beautiful Lake Huron. Wasaga Beach on Lake Huron, one of my favorite places. We used to take the boys a lot when they were young. Not Gordian. Richard, what health supplements do you take? I.e. C60. Yes, I still take the C60. I take it every day, a tablespoon at least. Colloidal silver. Well, I don't take that regularly, but I did. There was a gentleman who lived not quite in Niagara Falls. It was all on the way to Niagara Falls. His last name was McBurney. Was it Norman McBurney? I can't remember his first name. He's no longer with us. This is an interesting story. So I was doing a stage show in Oshawa at a beautiful theater there. I think it was called the Regent Theater. We rented it out 2 years in a row. And I brought in all these guests. Rosemary Ellen Guiley was there, and who else was there, North?
Douglas, no? Was he not there?
Douglas James Cottrell was there. We did, and
Gary was there at one point? Take a walk on the dark side?
no, Gary Patterson. That was another event at the University of Toronto. We used to do events there too. But so we did some events in Oshawa, and this Mr. McBurney, I'll call him. He came up to me after, introduced himself, and he had some documents that he had put together on creating a 100 mile per gallon carburetor. He was an inventor, and he didn't invent it. This is technology that apparently had been around for the 30s, and he replicated it, and he was, I don't know if he was selling them, but he was kind of open sourcing it. He wanted to share, how you can build a carburetor and it'll allow you to get 100 miles to the gallon. And this had been out since the 1930s, and I had him on the radio program talking about that. But the other thing that he did was he made his own colloidal silver. And so he invited me to come to his house. So one day, the family, we were heading to Niagara Falls, and so we stopped in, and he loaded us up with colloidal silver, big bottles of it. And we were living in a condominium at the time. Anyway, I had burned myself. I'd spilled some hot wax on my my finger, and it just blistered. The blisters were like, I don't know if you can see here, but the blisters were like that high on my finger. And I thought, oh, this is going to scar. But before it blistered, the mighty Aphrodite and I suddenly remembered we had all of this colloidal silver. And so we poured it into like a metal bowl or a basin, like a salad bowl. Thank you, North, a salad bowl. And I just stuck my finger, my whole hand actually, in this colloidal silver. And I left it there for like 20 minutes, a half an hour, I don't remember. And then I took it out, and then later I put it in again. And I mean, I had really burnt my finger badly. And as I say, then it blistered. And eventually when the blisters subsided, I thought, oh, this is going to scar terribly. The blisters went away. There was no scarring. So, and I attribute that to the colloidal silver. So there you go. Let's see, who else do we have here? Do I have a lot of questions here? How is it that Coast to Coast now has ads for Newsmax? Giuliani, okay, I'll get to those. This is Alembic 65. How is it that Coast to Coast has ads for Newsmax, Giuliani books, and such? Had not listened for years till recently. How do they have ads? Well, people want to advertise, and I don't know. Are you suggesting that they should say no to Newsmax or Giuliani books? That's Premier Radio Network, and they are in the business of selling advertising. That's how they pay salaries, right? So Newsmax, I used to watch. They have some good programs. Let's see. Am I fluent in Greek? Where is that one, North? Who asked that one? Anyway, I'm not fluent in Greek. I wish I were. I took are you familiar with that app, Duolingo? I was using that for like 3 or 4 weeks straight, but I just hit a wall. I don't know, was it conjugating verbs or something? So I'm going to have to rethink how I'm going to learn Greek. The mighty Aphrodite and the boys speak, and of course my mother-in-law. So there's lots of Greek floating around, and I can understand more than I think I can. Actually, if I understand the context, what they're talking about, then I can pick up little things, but also I can order in a restaurant. So when I go to Greece, I'll never go hungry. Let's put it that way. I know I can order. But of course, then everyone over there speaks English, and they hear me struggling with my Greek, and they get, that's okay, English. They don't want to hear me butchering the language. The thing about the Greek people, though, is they really appreciate just if you try. So, for example, I've heard, if you go to France and you don't speak French very well, but you try, it's almost like you're hurting their ears. They go, no, stop. Not so in Greece. They actually appreciate the effort. That's my impression anyway.
Someone, Thinker asked...
Thinker wants to know what?
He asked, what was your favorite Coast to Coast AM show or Saga show?
My favorite Coast to Coast show. Let's see. That's a tough one. Leo Wanta, Ambassador Leo Wanta, also known as the $26 trillion man. This is a guy, I still hear from him once in a while. He's getting up in age. He's in his 80s, I think. And Leo Wanta was appointed by President Reagan, to be kind of his special agent, and he was tasked with, this was at the height of the Cold War, near the end of the Cold War, he was tasked with basically trying to destroy the Soviet economy. The idea is they wanted to bring the Soviet Union to its knees, collapse their economy so that they can no longer compete in the arms race, and then basically end the Cold War. So Leo Wanta had developed this strategy of, it's kind of a complicated formula, but there were currency swaps involved and other things. And so in one fell swoop, he was buying up rubles, taking them out of the country. Anyway, according to Leo Wanta, this actually was successful in destroying the Soviet economy. They couldn't pay their people anymore. There were no rubles. But he also amassed an unbelievable wealth in the process of these currency swaps and buying gold and sticking it in bank accounts. And the understanding was that he could keep a certain amount of it, a small portion, and the rest was supposed to be returned to the U.S. Treasury Department. Unfortunately, some ne'er-do-wells, and he names names, they got their hands on these bank accounts. And these are high-ranking politicians, and they prevented Leo Wanta from repatriating the money into the U.S. Treasury. So that was exciting, bringing him on and talking about that. Always enjoy my conversations with the late R. Gary Patterson on Coast and on my other radio show, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, of course. I don't know if I ever spoke with Rosemary on Coast to Coast. It's hard to nail it down to one, but I would say off the top of my head, Leo Wanta. In terms of Saga 960, I don't know. It's
What's his name? The Leonidas was pretty good, eh?
who?
Leonidas?
Oh, Leonidas Johnson. Yeah, Leonidas is a young conservative social media influencer, and you can find him on Twitter, and he's the host of Informed Dissent. Yeah, he's always a good guest. I have a stable of sort of semi-regulars on the Saga show that I keep bringing back. Paul Manafort was interesting. Dr. Ben Carson, I mentioned those. Jamie Saleh, the Olympian, the Olympic figure skater from Canada, who recently just kind of threw caution to the winds and started speaking out against the lockdowns and various mandates and so forth, and has become kind of a real champion for freedom, and has teamed up with another Olympian, Theo Fleury, of course, great NHL player. Yeah, Theo Fleury's been on the program a number of times, and together they've teamed up and they're putting together. I don't know if they're going to do a radio show or a YouTube channel or something. We got to get Theo Fleury and Jamie Saleh back on the show as well. Dr. Peter McCullough has been a regular. Dr. Robert Malone, the inventor of the mRNA technology, sort of the foundation upon which the vaccine was built, was on Dr. Robert Malone. He's been on the program a number of times. Wow, just so many. Tom Korski from Blacklock's Reporter, terrific. They break so many stories at blacklocks.ca. That's a website. He's a regular on the program. People at True North, Andrew Lawton, the people at Rebel News, Sheila Gunn Reid and Drea Humphrey and Tamara Ugoloni and Ezra Levant and so many others. They're all great. Any more questions before we?
So Toxic Canadian asked, Richard, whose side do your twins run on, yours or Aphrodite's?
Toxic Canadian wants to know about the twins and who do they take after?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because North and Zach are they're 2 minutes apart. I think Zachary's 2 minutes. Yeah, he's 2 minutes older, but they're like night and day. There's a family resemblance, but you could easily say, well, I don't think they're even related. They're very different. I think North takes after me physically. He looks a bit more like my side, but I think he's maybe has more of his mom's temperament. And Zachary looks more like his mom's side of the family, but I think he's a bit more like me inside. He's like North is, you're more of an extrovert, like your mom. Zachary's more introverted, like me. But thank God they got basically. The introvert that has a live stream and that has made his career in broadcasting. It's true. Anyway, we're both so blessed. They're smart. They're kind. Thankfully, they got their brains from their mom's side. All right. Any more questions in the live? I've got it right here, but I kind of lost the thread.
Yeah. So, You Betcha asked, do you look at the conspiracy show as being before the lockdown?
Somebody wants to know about the conspiracy show before the lockdowns. That's You Betcha?
You Betcha asked, do you look at the conspiracy show as being before the lockdown? And I don't know what he
The conspiracy show before the lockdowns and then after the lockdowns, maybe? Yeah. Not really sure what he means.
This one.
Okay. Do you look at the conspiracy show as being before the lockdown and after the lockdown? Interesting question. Well, what I look at after the or during the pandemic, I think is sort of the culmination of everything that I have talked about on the radio for the previous 20 years or 18 years or whatever it is, because the pandemic was 2 years. And that old saying that yesterday's conspiracy theory is tomorrow's news headline, that's the way I look at what happened during the pandemic. We've been talking about UN Agenda 2021 and then it became UN Agenda 2030. I've been talking about UN Agenda 2021 for 10, 12 years. The World Economic Forum, all of these. Yeah, that's my takeaway from the pandemic is it was just the fulfillment of everything we've been talking about on the air for 20 years. Toxic Canadian, that's awesome. But what I meant was, what side do twins run on? Are these twins on your side or what side are they on? Well, Toxic Canadian, it doesn't work like that. We're a family, right? We stick together. We run together as one.
I think what she's asking is, are there twins on mom's side of the family or the twins on your side of the family?
Oh, I'm sorry, Toxic Canadian. I apologize. I see what you mean. Actually, on both sides. I think I have ancestors there were twins on both our sides.
But then
then Mom had twins on her dad's side.
But then
on your papu's side. Yeah, so there's
on your dad's side as well, but he died young, didn't he?
No, that was on papu's side.
Was it?
Yeah, so the Toxic Canadian, I apologize. Now I understand your question. There are twins on both sides. Twins on both sides. Let's see here. Well, I just do it here.
Oh, over here. You have to do
Over here. Okay.
Scroll down.
Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah. Carolyn Bryant is still alive with it. I have heard from so many performers saying that they're secretly introverts. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm very comfortable in front of a microphone, even if it's coast to coast, and I know there are 2 million people listening because I just imagine in my mind that I'm speaking to one person. But if I'm, on a stage in front of a live audience, I'm not so comfortable. I'm becoming more comfortable, as the years go on. But it's not it's not something I crave, to perform in front of a live audience. I really have to force myself. But I am. There's no question. I'm an introvert. All right. I think that's about it. And that's a wrap for our very first post-conspiracy show live stream. Thank you all for being a part of it. And again, we'll do at least once a month, and perhaps in the next couple of months we'll increase it to twice a month. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed speaking with you all and being with you all again. And we'll talk soon. Don't forget Throwback Thursdays, and we'll put portions of the podcasts up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I think, right, North? So look for that as well. Lots of content coming up on the YouTube channel. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. All right, that's it for me. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.